So this young boy, Jeremiah, was called to the prophetic ministry at a very, very young age. And we have the account of that. Here is probably, as I said, one of the first messages he gave. So if you're with me, Jeremiah chapter 11, verse 1, the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Verse 2, hear the words of this covenant and speak to the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. So here's God forming a covenant relationship with Israel. Do you want me to do this for you? And they, at this point, have come out of Egypt. God has given Moses the law coming down from Mount Sinai. So that's Exodus 20. We now come into Exodus chapter 24. And God says, I will do this for you. Do you want to enter into this agreement with me? Isn't that amazing? I find that incredible, that the God of the universe invites us to give him permission to have his way in our life. And if you don't give God permission to have his way in your life, he won't have his way in your life. And this is giving part of the terms of the covenant. We read in Deuteronomy 27 verse 1, now Moses and the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep the whole commandment that I've commanded you. By the way, Deuteronomy, Deutero means the second time. Onomy means rule or law. It's the second giving of the law. This is the second time Israel has heard this. The first time was their parents. Deuteronomy is now the children of the parents, because the parents said, yes, we'll form that covenant with God. And then they did everything but obey God. And it took 40 years for them to die out. Now it's the children. And Moses is going, okay, kids, it was your parents that formed this agreement. Now you're old enough, you're all adults now. I'm going to go through this again, and I'm going to ask you, do you want God to do this for you? And so that's what the whole book of Deuteronomy is about. That's why what is in Exodus in chapter 20 is repeated in Deuteronomy. You'll notice Deuteronomy chapter 5 is the same as Exodus 20. So here we have Moses going through this again. We come down to verse 9. Then Moses and the Levitical priests said to all Israel, keep silence and hear, O Israel, this day you have become the people of the Lord your God. See, it sounds like I now pronounce you man and wife. And that's what a covenant is. When a man and a wife, a man and a woman come together, that is a covenant. And here Israel is forming a covenant with God. Today you have become the people of God. Verse 10, you shall therefore obey the voice of the Lord your God, keeping his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day. And Moses charged the people, saying, and what we're going to read from there on in chapter 27 is all the curses. It's kind of like saying, you know, when two people would form a covenant, they'd put their hands on a sheep or a bullock or whatever, and they'd hold that together. Both would have their hands on it. And they would say, if either of us break this, let this that we are about to do be done to us. And the animal would be slain. So here we have to understand the covenants. We come into chapter 28, and here's the covenant being given. You notice in chapter 28 verse 1, here's the blessings. If you faithfully obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all his commandments that I command you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth. And we read through Deuteronomy 28 down to verse 14, and there's all these phenomenal blessings about how they will have all their needs met. They'll be brought into a land. The land will be blessed. All these phenomenal blessings. And then from verses 15 on, we have what will happen as a result, which is essentially God will remove the blessings. And when God removes blessing, that's called being cursed. That's what a curse is. It is when the blessing of God is removed. And so if you'll look with me, please, down to verse 63. We come to the last part of verse 63. We read this. And this is as a result. If Israel breaks the covenant, if they say, God, all of those things you told us to do, don't have idols, don't have sex unless you're married to that person, don't cheat the widow, don't cheat the orphan, 27 verse 19, treat people with respect, Don't abuse animals, it says in verse 21 of chapter 27. God, you can stick all that up your jumper. We're going to live however we want and tough for you. God says, Deuteronomy 28:63, you do that, then I will remove all these blessings from you. And this is what the last part of verse 63 says. I will pluck you up and I will cast you out of the land. And we read in verse 64 how that would happen. And the Lord will scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other. And there you shall serve other gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your fathers have known. Among these nations you shall find no respite. There shall be no resting place for the sole of your foot. But the Lord will give you there a trembling heart and failing eyes and a languishing soul. Wow, man, that is heavy. That is really, really heavy. And if you read the verses coming up to that, God talks about sending in a nation that will swoop upon them like an eagle. So here's the question. Because Jesus came, and he came in the spirit of Jeremiah, he came saying, look, God's offering you this. He's offering you eternal life. He's offering you to adopt you. He's offering to give you an inheritance. He's offering you eternal life in heaven. He's offering you comfort whenever you need it. He's offering you fellowship if you're lonely. He's offering you food if you're hungry, drink if you're thirsty, companionship to the friendless, father to the fatherless. He's offering you all this. Will you accept it? This is where I just want to kind of bring this to a close. Jeremiah is a young teenage boy. Young boy, 12, 13, 14 years of age. He would go on to prophesy 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. He would have been around about 30, 33 when Babylon eventually came in, and everything he said would happen, he saw it. He saw it happen. And that's kind of the backdrop to our slide there, is the city of Jerusalem actually destroyed, just as Jeremiah prophesied. Here's the question. What has to happen in a young man in order to make him, and here's an expression I want you to get, it's the highest compliment the Bible can pay a man. Not king, not great man. Here's the highest compliment the Bible pays a man. It's this expression. He was a man of God. Thank you for watching this video on the prophet and the life of Jeremiah. If you'd like to order this video on DVD, you can do so by contacting us at Legana Media, PO Box 1143, Legana, Tasmania, Australia 7277. Or you can find us on the web at www.legana.org or findingtruthmatters.org. If you go to our shop or resources section there, you'll see how you can order this DVD. I'm Andrew Corbett. Thank you very much for watching this video.